Hi, I'm Ken Howard, and welcome to the Gay Therapy LA podcast. Today, I want to talk about gay men and how to build real friendships in adulthood, why it feels harder than ever, and what actually works. So, as a psychotherapist with more than 30 years of experience working almost exclusively with gay men, I've seen the focus of therapy shift over time. There's different topics that hold prominence at different eras of my career, sometimes about coming out, although that's rare. People always think that's a common thing that I do. It's rare. I'll do it, but it's rare that I help a guy in coming out. Relationships, certainly. I do a lot of couples therapy, polycule therapy, relationship coaching, sex as a certified sex therapist, career identity, a whole lot about gay men's careers and executive coaching. But increasingly, I've noticed that one issue has moved quietly to the center and seeing it frequently, and that is friendship. Not acquaintances, not people you text occasionally, but real, consistent, emotionally meaningful friendships with your peers, other gay men. And for many gay men today, that feels, for some reason, harder than it should. So there's a cultural shift that most people don't talk about. Part of what you're experiencing isn't just personal, it's historical. In earlier decades, gay men formed friendships with shared environments that created repetition and dependence. You saw the same people in the same places, like a gay bar or a gay beach or gay restaurant. Social circles overlapped more tightly in more kind of condensed gay neighborhoods. There was a sense of mutual reliance, sometimes even mutual survival in a much more hostile, generally homophobic environment. And friendship wasn't something that you had to, work hard and figure out. It was built into the structure of gay male communities in daily life. And today that structure is gone. In its place, we have apps that prioritize dating and sex over friendship, social scenes that are fragmented or status driven. Think about that. When you think about your social scene, have you thought about the influence of status and how people judge and are judged? There's a lot of that these days. Work lives that are more demanding and less predictable. This isn't the Mad Men show with Don Draper and, working 9 to 5 and then having a bunch of cocktails. That's less common now. People are working longer hours for less pay in the current generations. There's a digital connection that feels social but isn't. Some of this social media connection is a replica of social interaction. It's not actual social interaction because it's one step removed by being put online. And the result is subtle but powerful. You can meet more people than ever, but you still don't have people. Why this becomes so frustrating. Most of the men I work with are not socially inept. They're successful, articulate, emotionally aware, usually well-educated. They can meet people easily in a lot of situations. But what they can't seem to do is turn those interactions into something that lasts. And over time, that leads to a very specific kind of discouragement. Why am I always the one reaching out? Why does nothing seem to stick? Why does everyone else seem to have a group already? If you've had those thoughts, you're not alone. The structural problem that most men miss is one of the biggest barriers to friendship is not personality, it's logistics, specifically a schedule mismatch. If you work evenings and weekends or long or irregular hours, then you may be trying to build friendships with people who are simply not available when you are. And this creates a pattern that feels emotional, but it's actually structural. Plans don't happen, momentum stalls, interest gets misinterpreted, and eventually you pull back. Not because you don't want connection, but because the system isn't working. Let's look at the psychological layer underneath that. At the same time, there's often something deeper happening internally. Many gay men carry a history of social exclusion, being the last one picked or being excluded for being different, even if we don't call it gay necessarily when we're real young, we still might feel social exclusion. There's a conditional acceptance. Yo, I don't mind gay men as long as they're not coming on to me. Fat chance, bucko. But, there's a conditional acceptance of our relationships, or gay men can get by as long as ... they do or don't do something. Or a lot of subtle or even overt rejection. Gay men know this. You can probably think of some examples where you've been very overtly rejected in your life. Or sometimes it's just more subtle, that you're getting a message that you don't quite belong here, or that you're not quite welcome here, or I don't want to talk to you. That happens a lot. So even when opportunities for friendship appear, there can be a quiet hesitation, not wanting to seem too eager, not wanting to be the one who cares more and loses face or loses status, and not wanting to risk being let down again. And this creates a pattern I often see in therapy and coaching work. You want connection, but you hold back just enough to prevent it. Let's talk about why putting yourself out there doesn't tend to work. You've heard this advice before. Just put yourself out there. I've probably been guilty of saying something kind of close to that. And it's not really wrong. There is a component of that, of things like initiative and drive and optimism, but it's incomplete because it ignores how friendship actually forms. Friendship is not built through one good interaction. Hi, how are you? I like you. Let's be friends forever. It's more built through repeated contact, familiarity in the environment, a strong sense of follow-through, and just time. Without those elements, what you get is pleasant interactions that just kind of go nowhere. So what actually works when it's done right, and when this starts to shift, for my clients anyway, it's usually because we move from vague effort to something more intentional, not overcomplicated, but more precise. So number one is you stop chasing new people and you start building repetition. Instead of asking, where can I meet people? You shift to, where will I see the same people again next week? That drives kind of where you go. And this might be the same gym class, a recurring structured group of some kind, or even a casual group of some kind, a consistent social or professional environment. Familiarity is what turns recognition into relationship. Number two is make invitations easy to say yes to. Most men unknowingly make this harder than it needs to be. They say, oh, we should hang out sometime, which, okay, sounds good, but it rarely leads anywhere. Instead, keep it simple and immediate. I'm grabbing coffee off after this. Do you want to join? Or I'll be here again next week. Friendship builds through momentum, not just intention. Number three is build around your actual life, not an ideal one. This is where many men stay stuck. If your schedule is unconventional, your social strategy has to reflect that. Otherwise, you're trying to force a connection in a system that doesn't support it. Compatibility is not just personality, it's availability. Number four is the shift from participant to connector. This is a real turning point. Instead of waiting to be included, invite two people to do the same thing, or introduce people who might get along. Help your existing friends on one side of you or the other to become friends together. Create, like you're drawing lines between people. And this is how individual contacts become a network and eventually a group, a friend group. Let's talk about the part that no one tells you. Even when you understand all of this, most men don't follow through with it consistently. Not because they're lazy, but because it feels uncomfortable. It takes time to work. Early results are frustratingly inconsistent. So they stop too soon, and then the old pattern quietly returns. Let's talk about the cost of letting this stay the same. If nothing changes, the trajectory is usually not dramatic, it's gradual. Your social world becomes smaller, more isolated, more dependent on work or romantic relationships. And over time, that starts to affect your mood and resilience and more pressure on your relationship and just overall life satisfaction. And it's not a minor issue. It's a foundational one to your life, how you're conducting your life. Let's talk about where therapy or coaching actually helps. This is where structured support makes a difference. Because this isn't just about knowing what to do, it's about identifying your specific patterns, adjusting your strategy in real time, working through the emotional resistance that blocks your sense of follow through. Is it pessimism? Oh, they don't want to be my friend anywhere, therefore I will not bother. The word therefore following your negative thoughts is a villain sometimes. Staying consistent long enough for results to actually form. Sometimes it's about stamina, staying with it, persistence. And that's the difference between insight and change. Let's talk about a more realistic standard for friendship. If you expect instant closeness or effortless chemistry or equal investment right away, you will keep feeling disappointed. A more accurate standard is consistent contact, a mutual responsiveness, and a gradual trust over time that's earned. It's almost tested a little bit with trust. And that's what real friendship eventually evolves to look like. Let's do a direct question to consider. If nothing changes in how you approach this, what will your social life look like 2 years from now? For many men, the answer is more limited, more isolated, and more dependent on fewer people. That's not inevitable, but it is common. So if you want this to be different, this is exactly the kind of work that I help clients with, both in psychotherapy for California residents and coaching nationwide or internationally. We just figure out the time zones. It's not just talking about it, but it's actually building a strategy that fits your life, your career, your schedule, your overall lifestyle. I hate that word lifestyle because the far right uses it as an anti. I don't agree with the gay lifestyle. I don't mean lifestyle in that negative way. I mean lifestyle as in just what your routines are, where you go, when, and how, especially around your job. You're also building a pattern that produces results, a template, and a social structure that lasts throughout, theoretically, years. So you don't have to keep guessing your way through this. You can build a social life that actually works, and we can talk about that. If you'd like a free 15-minute consultation with me, you can email ken@gaytherapyla.com or ken@gaycoachingla.com. Both of them will reach me. Or it's probably fastest actually to text 310-339-5778. That's 310-339-5778. And we can talk about how to partner and how to strategize so that we move the needle on your social life from it being not so satisfying now to building it to be, yeah, that's more satisfying. That's more like it. Now we're cooking. And that's what the nature of the work is saying, okay, how do we build that? So thanks, and I'll see you next time.